Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? This past week, we saw the return of Alex Smith to the lineup after almost 2 years after the horrific leg injury that he suffered against the Houston Texans, and it really kind of like brought up the question to me, you know, has there ever been like a more miraculous return than what Alex Smith did by being able to return to sports? And like I was trying to think of any, and to be 100% honest, like I honestly could not come up with any. It just, you know, and after seeing all of the documentary footage and the pictures and things of what his leg looked like not only was it that he may never play football again. I mean, this guy literally could have lost his life. I mean, it was horrific what he went through. Like I can't even fathom, you know, half or you know, a small percentage of what Alex Smith went through to get back. So Sean, I'll throw the question to you. Like, can you think of an injury that somebody came back from that was more miraculous than Alex Smith?
I mean, I think they're all different. I don't know that anybody's ever been, you know, more miraculous based on the condition he had been in. You know, obviously you talk about Tiger Woods, who fought for a long time to overcome back issues, things like that. None of those injuries were near as bad. Obviously, you have the story of Oscar Lindblom this year and various other athletes that have overcome cancer to play again and things like that. Those are, I feel they're very different. And normally when you have a horrific injury and a chance to come back like this, whether it be ACL, knee, there's a lot of real bad ones. But this one, I mean, with the infection was pretty bad. And I mean, just to see him on a roster was miraculous enough. I don't think you're going to see anything as kind of under the radar heroic, because the other ones were all more primarily televised. I think this was just an under the radar heroic, being that it's a guy late in his career that may not, you know, kind of have that return to glory, so to speak. But, you know, he and his family, just to be out there, super excited, very proud of Alex Smith this week. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, he was started the year on the active roster. You know, he was the third string, and then Dwayne Haskins, you know, was benched. Then we found out on Sunday he wasn't even in the building. Kyle Allen, the starter. Dwayne Haskins not in the building. Was reportedly a stomach illness of some sort. And then Kyle Allen gets hit real hard there at the sideline, and all of a sudden Alex Smith not only is the backup quarterback, but goes into action. And you know, when you said Lindblom, Sean, immediately I thought of Mario Lemieux. Then was obviously another one, you know, with the cancer and things like that. So you know, that one may rank up there. That was one that kind of had slipped my mind. Dave, can you think of any? Does any come to your mind?
Yeah, Lemieux was the one that I had just from a pure cancer kind of aspect. But, you know, I think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's kind of different, you know, a cancer versus an in-game injury. An in-game injury, I don't know that there's much more of a significant one that's happened, recent memory at least, and kind of come back from. But, you know, I echo everything you guys have said, that real happy to see him make it the whole way back, and not just one of these that you rehab in your career minor league type of guy like you see in baseball sometimes. With the pitchers and the Tommy John and things along those lines. But happy to see him make it the whole way back without a doubt.
Yeah, and I mean, one that we will obviously touch on the ramifications of later in the show with our NFL Big Four. But, you know, it's this kind of, and it's kind of why I titled the episode what I did, Sports Giveth, Sports Taketh, because, you know, a couple of hours after the return of Alex Smith, we see the horrific injury to Dak Prescott and the implications that it'll have on the Cowboys. And it's just a reminder of just how quick things can change in the NFL and in any sport. So kind of in this same idea, in this same area of conversation. I've seen a lot of reaction to the Dak injury, like, this is why he should have signed the long-term deal. And for me as a Cowboys fan, like, do I now obviously wish, for him that they were able to get the deal done and he wouldn't have been a franchise tag this year? Absolutely. I wish, he would have they would have been able to get it done even without the injury. You never want, especially with that position, for it to be, just kind of looming over your head like that. But, for me, I also look at the fact that, like, Dak Prescott was willing to bet on himself, and these guys don't make those decisions without understanding the risk of injury, the risk of potentially something like this happening, and what impact it'll have on his contract moving forward, his stance with the Cowboys. That all remains to be seen. And it's successful surgery, expected timeout about 4 to 6 months. So he should be ready to go for the season next year, barring any complications. Obviously, we wish him the best, but with the situation with Dak Prescott, it just shows just how quick things can happen in the National Football League.
Well, yeah, it was very fast. It was like you said, it was almost like within. It felt like minutes from the Alex Smith glory to that. I didn't even obviously it was the next slate of games, but yeah, it's not something you want to see. And of course, kind of being in that Philly area and, following a lot of Philly groups. Unfortunately, you get the groups of fans and you get the guys that are going to celebrate or praise when that kind of thing happens. And there's no way to stop it. I mean, they can feel how they want to feel. But, I have no room in my heart or my head for that kind of choice. Obviously, am I glad to see any opportunity the Eagles have to be in first place or to be near first place? Sure. Do I want it to be at the expense of somebody in the situation that he's in? No, that is not something anybody should wish on anyone in any situation, especially a guy. And the one thing that I brought up, I think, in a conversation to you earlier in the week, James, is the interesting thing is him opting to not take the contract that was offered to him and to test it for a year and to prove his worth makes the situation all the more interesting. Sure. In that he doesn't have the guaranteed money after this year. There's no long-term deals locked up. So he's going to have to rely on either Dallas or a free agent market, maybe take another shorter deal or a tag again. So even the long-term ramifications for him beyond just recovering from this become very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I know Jerry Jones in his comments on Monday said that, and even Stephen Jones said it, that their plan for the future still has Dak in it. So what that'll mean number wise and
right.
whatever, will remain to be seen. For me, it's not something that needs to really be talked about right now. Obviously in the short term, the priority is for him to stay healthy and avoid any complications. And for the first couple of days, it looks like that has been the case so far. Dave, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think you guys covered it pretty well again. But number one, story, you never want to hear Dak get hurt or anyone along those lines get hurt. But you gotta. I don't want to back Jerry Jones here, but this is also a business aspect too. That some of the numbers that Dak was rumored to be asking for were pretty astronomical given the guy's skill level. I mean, he's not going to get Patrick Mahomes money. He never should. Now, again, is he a top 10 quarterback? That remains to be seen. Is he as a top 20 quarterback? I mean, who knows? You probably got to put him in the top 20. But the other piece going along with this, too, is it's going to be interesting to see how this really shapes the Cowboys going forward. And I think it's a good thing. Not that Dak got hurt. Let's not dwell on that. But I think it's going to force the Cowboys to give the ball to Zeke a lot more, which is something that they needed to do and they had gotten away from earlier in the year. Which is going to, kind of put the horse to work, for lack of better terms. And again, it's a shame that it had to happen with Dak being the cause of it and his ankle, getting severed, for lack of better terms. But it's going to be a interesting scheme change for the Cowboys. And I bet as a Cowboys fan, you're pretty happy they went out and signed Dalton too.
Yeah, I mean, I never hoped that he would have ended up being our starter, but if you're gonna be in that situation, you could probably do a lot worse. And we've seen a lot of teams end up a lot worse. And the craziest thing, like if you have the stomach to watch the video of Dak's injury again, the first thing he tries to do is like bang his ankle or his shoe or what, I don't know, like exactly what he at that moment, if you were just kind of in shock and you thought, oh, maybe my shoe's just off, but like if you want, he tries to like bang something back in place. Like it's unbelievable. Like,
yeah, I gathered he thought that the flopping or the whatever was happening with the full fracture. It really looked like he thought it was equipment, like with the momentum and everything that happened and the immediate feeling loss. He had no idea that was his foot flopping.
No, it was nuts. Yeah. Like it was absolutely nuts. And but yeah, well, and for the Cowboys, you bring up a great point. Like they're going to have to lean on Zeke more, but part of the problem with that is their offensive line is just in complete disarray right now. That's why Dak Prescott, after the first 4 weeks of the season, was on pace to pass for 6,700 yards this year, which is just a ridiculous number because I think what Peyton Manning's single season record is 53, 54. Like he was ready. He was going to explode that record. I don't think you're going to have a lot of success if you're expecting Andy Dalton to put up that many yards, but we'll talk about the Cowboys here in just a little bit. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app. That's arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Let's continue though with the NFL, and there is a game going on right now, and because of the NFL's ongoing issues with the coronavirus, Tennessee leading Buffalo 21-10 in the third quarter. So we've seen this over the last couple of weeks. We've seen games had to have been adjusted and things like that because of positive COVID cases with especially the Titans, but some other teams as well. And now the NFL has had to make some significant changes to the season schedule. This was from Sunday. The league released a series of scheduling changes. The Broncos Patriots have obviously moved from last week to this upcoming week. 7 other games were affected by the postponement. Chiefs and Buffalo from week 6 moves to Monday, October 19th. That was supposed to be Thursday night, so that's still within next week. The Jets-Dolphins game from week 10 to week 6. The Jets-Chargers move from week 6 to week 11. Jaguars at Chargers moves from week 8 to week 7. Chargers-Broncos from week 11 to week 8. Chargers-Dolphins from week 7 to week 10. And Dolphins-Broncos from week 6 to week 11. As a result, 6 teams will now have different bye weeks. And if you want the full release on that, we did post it on our social media, both Facebook and Twitter on Sunday. And I think after all of this shakes out, I think by week 8, I think I saw like 18 teams or something in the league will have had their bye, which is not normal if you're keeping track at home. So for now, at least with the Titans getting back on the field and most teams having no cases or very minimal, it appears that the NFL has kind of dodged the bullet for now. But as we've seen with this drastic of a change that the NFL implemented this past week and the number of bye weeks and things like that, now I know it was released that they have a potential for a week 18 if it would come in place, but that is like a last-ditch option. But I think that the clear message here right now is the NFL's kind of running out of options. Like this was kind of a 11th hour Hail Mary. We're going to make all of these changes, but teams now really, even more than they have up to this point, have to really buckle down and get their stuff under control, because you're not going to have the ability for very much longer to make a wholesale move like they did this week.
Yeah, I mean it's an issue of like you said, last hour, but that concept of time. I mean, it's just I was just kind of discussing it before any of those changes happened this week. With the moving of games to Tuesday and stuff, I said, the Steelers. I was talking to a Steelers fan watching the games this weekend, and he's like real adamant. Him and his buddies were furious because the Steelers they thought got screwed. Kind of by all the cases. They wind up with a bye week earlier than possibly ever in the NFL, and they went from a kind of perfect spot mid-season bye week to having to take it now. And you're seeing other teams have to do the same. So I think the quicker they get moved up, the better to make it more fair. But you're going to run out of bye weeks, So I mean, I think at this point you got to start planning a plan C, D. Try to have something in place that if it goes down past bye weeks, you got to have a way to do it. Is it going to be a second bye week? I think if you're going to do something as extreme as forfeiture or something like that, then it has to be, you have to let them know ahead of time. Like, you got to let teams know if you're, past this date on the calendar, anything like this is considered a forfeit. Please plan accordingly. Then, teams need some kind of notice to fully get that in place, even though they probably should have already done that already.
Well, and then if you're the Broncos, you go from practicing for the Patriots to being told this is now your bye week, you're playing next week. Well, typically
also you still have to play the Patriots.
Right. And typically on a bye week, they don't practice. Nope. It is literally that is a week off for guys to rest up and just kind of take a week away from football. The Broncos don't have that anymore because
right. And the team they're playing will now most likely have a very different quarterback scenario come the time that you do play them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
you'll be playing against a Cam Newton instead of a Brian Hoyer or the Rook.
Yeah.
Very different scenario, very different preparation. Basically, a whole week of prep is shot, because you're preparing for essentially a whole different offense.
Yeah, it sucks, Dave.
Not to mention that the NFL is going to go after Denver for an illegal bye week practice procedure or something then too. Just going along with all the nonsense. But
you got to make the money, bud.
That's exactly it. But I think you got a couple things that are going to come down the pike here from Dave's point of view. I think week 18, I think you're going to need it from the sheer fact that you're going to have some of these teams that are going to be playing 16 straight weeks if they make it into the playoffs with the bye weeks when they were. You also didn't have preseasons. These players are going to need a little bit of a I don't even know if you call it recuperation or something along those lines, but then the pure just scheduling madness is going to have to happen here because it's going to come down again. Some of these NFL players are just too they're not about the team. It's all about me. And you talk about that Dingleberry in New England that started the whole thing with New England. So just that type of stuff. I think you're going to have another outbreak, and you just have too much travel involved. I mean, we all discussed it. That's why the bubble really worked, is that the travel wasn't there. There's just too many additional points of contact. But at the same point in time, I think I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving this NFL on a Tuesday night, 2 Monday night games. I could get into this being old habit. Get rid of the Thursday night games and let's go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I can deal with this, and then move a team around or whatever you have to do. But I think they're gonna have to get pretty creative with some scheduling and some other things here to get the full season in, which I do think that they're gonna do. They're gonna find a way. Like we've said, there's just too much money involved, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do when the next wave kind of creeps up. And I've seen a lot of talk that, if the Titans violate a protocol or the Patriots did or something along those lines, instead of fining them, make them forfeit the next time you have to do the schedule. But again, I agree with what you guys said, that if you're going to make that a penalty, you got to come out and state that now. So, but there's going to be a juggling act without a doubt.
Well, yeah, and I think, we've kind of talked about it. Even back to our season previews is, you're either going to have to make that choice. It's either going to become a forfeit or it's going to become a, it's going to become a situation of kind of pausing the season for a week or two and just shifting everything back. So instead of the Super Bowl being the first weekend in February, it ends up being the third week in February. Like those are the only other options besides, having to cancel everything, which the deeper you get into the year, the deeper that money pool runs and the less likely that option becomes. But guys, we have a little bit of breaking news here tonight.
Breaking news.
Statement from New York Jets general manager Joe Douglas. After having conversations with Le'Veon Bell and his agent and exploring potential trade options over the past couple of days, we have made the decision to release him. The Jets organization appreciates Le'Veon's efforts during his time here, and we know he worked hard to make significant contributions to this team. We believe this decision is in the best interest of both parties and wish him future success. So Le'Veon Bell released by the New York Jets here on a Tuesday night. How about that? Breaking news on a Tuesday night. But yeah, it's this whole COVID situation is like you said, Dave. There's no way that the league's going to get through the remaining 12 weeks of the regular season and playoffs without another issue. I did see earlier today that they're exploring potentially having some sort of a bubble in place for the postseason. So, with I think LA, maybe Dallas as potential options, which as we've seen in other sports, baseball included, but basketball and NHL, the biggest success stories when it comes to bubbles, they work because you isolate and if you don't let anybody in, you don't let anybody out, then you're not going to have any problems. So that's definitely something that we're going to keep our eye on as well.
7-1 on the Jets to go 0-16, looking pretty better.
Yeah, that's feels like a safe bet as long as they keep Adam Gase as head coach.
Right. They beat the fucking Patriots somehow.
Now that was that's all assuming that Le'Veon Bell was going to help them go 1-15. Like, was he going to win a game in that situation? I don't know.
It's not hurting at all. I mean, it's not hurting.
And Scott asks here, he says, who signs Bell? As he was just cut. Yeah, we just broke the news. I mean, right now, I don't necessarily see anybody who particularly needs him. But, I mean, Monday night or Sunday night, we saw a situation where, Dalvin Cook took a step and got hurt, was able to come back. So, he was able to avoid any serious issue there. I think it's going to come down to situations like that. If a guy gets hurt, then by all means, you're gonna institute people somewhere. But right now, I can't think of anybody that particularly needs him. Sean, do you? Dave, do you?
Well, I mean, the big thing is a lot of the run-heavy teams that utilize one tailback in particular have done a really good job of having that plan B in place. Obviously, in the Minnesota scenario, you got Madison who just plugged right in and is probably going to this coming week. It looks like will just be the A. So I don't really see a lot of teams that would, if there was a team that really, really needed him or wanted him, the Jets' asking price could not have been that high. So you would think that if there was a team chomping at the bit to maybe get him and they were calling around to other managers, someone would have come forward with the offer. But if I was going to pick some play, like right off the top of my head, you have a very struggling Kenyon Drake in Arizona. Edmonds looks really good, but he's small. You kind of question the durability issues. Bell's probably going to wander into a committee situation anyway. I feel like being a first 2 or 3 down back, occasional 3 down back, usually 2 down back in Arizona is a legitimate possibility. Otherwise, I think you're waiting for an injury. Indianapolis came to mind right away, but the rookie's looking real good, and I don't know that they're really going to shake anything up unless it's going to be cheap. But at this point, he may be waiting for that next big injury or situation to go on.
The Chargers.
Yeah, you could. I just don't know how he – I mean, he's a good pass catcher, and I thought of that. But they have 2 – I don't want to say clones of Eckler in that offense, but between Kelly and Jackson, I think you kind of fill the role pretty well. And I don't know that Eckler's going to miss that much time. I know they put him on the IR, but I think you're only looking at a couple of weeks as
because again,
the initial situation looked like.
Yeah, and this year again with the IR, you can get a guy back in 3 weeks. It's not the 8-week or full season.
Right.
Scotty says Raiders could have a good 1-2 punch with Jacobs and Bell potentially, and I think maybe for a guy like Bell too. Does he want money? Does he want to be a starter, or does he want to go to a place that could potentially be, a winning team as well and make a deep playoff run? So, all of that kind of comes into question. And he also asks, how does Gase still have a job? Does he have something on management like many people thought Marvin Lewis did? Certainly possible, because, that guy just looks to be completely outclassed and all of that.
I think the Jets have outsmarted us all by keeping Gase, because it means they're going to automatically tank for Trevor, and then they can say it wasn't by plan, it was just our coach, and he takes the fall.
He just stinks, right? Yeah, the fact that I'm with Scott, the fact that breaking news happened involving the New York Jets and it didn't involve Adam Gase getting fired might be the big surprise for my entire week. Like, it's all downhill from here as far as surprise. I did not see the Le'Veon Bell being the announcement from the New York Jets.
Yeah, certainly not. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?